So Fallen Order is just 1 week away, and I know a lot of you guys are probably on the fence about getting this game. It's one of EA's first single-player games that they've released in quite some time. It's one of the first single-player Star Wars games that we've had in years, and this is EA's first attempt of making a single-player Star Wars game. Now, we did have a single-player campaign in Star Wars Battlefront 2, but as I'm sure most of you guys probably know, it was very short. You could beat it in like 4 or 5 hours or less. It just didn't have much to it. It felt kind of empty. So in this video, I'm going to go over everything that we know so far about Jedi Fallen Order. And to start us off, let's talk about what the game is. It's a single player experience. There is no multiplayer whatsoever. It is just straight up single player. And a lot of people may be wondering, what exactly is this game? Is it just straight linear? Is it open world? And this game has some aspects of both. There is some open world elements. You can go from planet to planet. You can choose the planets in any order that you'd like to go in. You can kind of free roam these planets and explore at your own free will. But it is also a very linear story, meaning that everything is already set in stone. Your choices have no outcomes. Like, there is a clear start and finish, kind of like God of War or a Call of Duty story. So there is customizations and stuff, and it does have that open world kind of feel to it, but everybody will still have the same cookie cutter start and finish. Now, as for the length of the game, this is a big concern. This is a selling point for a lot of people. I know The Force Unleashed 2 was a really fun game, but it was really short. In fact, it was so short that, like, I remember when Force Unleashed 2 came out, my friend stayed home from school that day back when I was in high school, and he had the game beat before I could even get done with school for the day. And he said it only took him like 5 hours. So there's a lot of people hoping that this game is like something that they cannot beat in a day or 2 days. Like, I'm expecting to beat this game in at least a week. If it's only single player, there's no multiplayer at all, I should be able to take my time and just fully enjoy this experience over the course of a week or longer. And the only information we have on that is by the game director himself. He was quoted by saying, "It's big, it's definitely not a 5-hour experience." And then to sort of back up his claim, a lot of the game changers were saying that they were exploring like some of the different caves and just some of the different planets, and they were just going for hours and hours. I think one of the game changers said that they explored for like 3 hours straight, and that's all they did. And then by the end of their 3-hour play session, they only discovered like 30% of one of the planets. So it does sound like there's a lot of stuff to do with the exploring and just the main story and all the collectibles and stuff that you have to find. It sounds like there might be a lot to actually keep you busy. Now, as for the difficulty modes, there are 3 difficulty modes that you can change at any time. So if you come across a boss fight or something and they're too difficult, you can change it down to easy, or you can bump it up to hard, or just whatever your playstyle fits. And the thing about this difficulty mode is they don't take the real cheap, easy approach of just giving the enemies more health, because they want the lightsaber to feel like an actual lightsaber. They don't want the enemies to take like 10 hits from a lightsaber to actually die. So when you bump up the difficulty, it just makes the enemy smarter. It makes them react to your moves quicker. Like, if you bump up the difficulty, they'll block more, or they'll parry your attacks more often. And then if you bump the difficulty down to easy, they're not going to be as smart. Like, you can hit them a lot easier. Their moves will be easier to dodge. And I think that sounds really cool. Don't know how it feels yet. We'll have to find out when the game comes out, but it does sound a lot better than them just giving the enemies more health and making them just lightsaber sponges. Now, one of the downsides to this is there is no New Game Plus mode. The developers said that they're kind of afraid of, if new players just started a new game with their fully upgraded character, they would just blow through everything with ease and it just wouldn't feel very fun. So I don't know what that says about replayability. I don't know if, like, once you beat the game, you'll have the chance to go through and do extra stuff. But with them not having a New Game Plus mode, maybe they'll add it later on if there's enough demand for it. It sounds like it's just a one and done game. Like, once you beat it and you unlock everything, doesn't sound like there's going to be that much more to do. Now, getting into the maps themselves and the different planets and stuff. To start us off, there is no loading screens from what the developers claim. And this is sort of hidden, kind of like with God of War. They kind of hide the loading screens behind cutscenes, or they find creative ways to hide the different loading screens and stuff. For example, in this game, you have your ship, and then when you travel from planet to planet, you have the ability to just free roam your ship, so they hide the loading screens behind that. So let's say you're traveling from planet A and then you're going to planet B. Well, during that hyperspace jump, you can walk around your ship. There's a bunch of like hidden Easter eggs and stuff on the ship, like you have a kitchen, you can just look out windows, and then you can interact with the other characters and stuff, I would imagine. So it kind of gives you stuff to do to hide the loading screens, which I'm a big fan of. I don't like just staring at a blank screen for a couple minutes. So hopefully it works as well as they say that it does, and I'm all for that. And then you can end the loading transitioning period of your ship by just sitting in the cockpit, and it will take you out of hyperspace. So you can either take your time exploring, walk around the ship, doing your upgrades or whatever, or you can just go straight to the other planet. And then, as I touched on before, you can go to any planet in any order that you want. You can go to planet A, B, C, D, it doesn't matter. There is no particular order. I don't know how that affects the story. I would imagine that the story unlocks the planets as you progress. I don't think you could just get in your ship and go from one to the other without any explanation as to why you're going there. I could be wrong, but I would imagine the story unlocks them, and then once they are unlocked, you can travel freely between all of them. Because when you go to these planets, as you progress and as you build your character and you get stronger with the Force and you unlock new powers and stuff, when you go back to these planets, you'll have the ability to unlock different areas that you couldn't reach before. That way you can get different unlockables, different outfits, different lightsaber colors and stuff. That way it kind of rewards you for going back to the planets to discover new things. And then when you get to these planets, there is no fast travel. Once you land, you have to walk everywhere on foot, but there is some good news. You can unlock different shortcuts and stuff, so when you come back to planets, you'll have different areas unlocked, and then you can just bypass a lot of the map by taking these quick shortcuts. There's a bunch of puzzles scattered throughout the world. You'll have to use Force powers. There's different vines and different parts of the planet's terrain that you'll have to traverse, things you'll have to jump over and freeze time to jump over, and just a whole bunch of different puzzles that you'll discover along the way. And then as you are exploring these planets, you will have BD1 to help scan the environment for you, and he'll help you find different secrets, and he'll help you scan the enemy, and that will put them into your database so that you can learn more about the enemy, just to give you more lore stuff. And then speaking of enemies, there are tons of different types of enemies in this game. And just to name a few, there are regular stormtroopers, there's flame troopers, scout troopers, snipers, dudes with rocket launchers, droids, purge troopers, inquisitors, ATSTs, different types of creatures, and even bounty hunters. And that's just to name a few. Like, there's so many different types of enemies in this game. I'm really impressed, and they all have their unique feels to them and their own fighting styles and stuff. So I think there's going to be no lack of different things to fight, and I think that's awesome. And as for creatures, there's tons of different creatures I said that you could fight, but there are also non-lethal creatures as well. Like, let's say there's like little rats or creatures that are flying and stuff. Like they'll either be like out in the background and you can't reach them, or if you get close enough to them, they'll either run from you or hide or whatever, just to give it a more Star Wars feel. That way you don't have to kill everything that moves. Like, some stuff is just peaceful. And then when it comes to fighting these enemies, some of them have weaknesses, some of them can block you, some of them you have to use Force powers on, you have to use combinations of both your lightsaber and Force powers. So you have to get pretty creative with all the different stuff that you're actually doing, because not all enemies are going to fight the same way. For example, if somebody's just out of range and you can't reach them, maybe you could throw your lightsaber at them or Force pull them. So it's nice to see that there's variation in the way that the enemies fight. Not every single stormtrooper is going to just feel like the same cookie cutter, same exact enemy. And then, if you didn't know, you can Force push grenades back at enemies, and same goes for rockets. If someone shoots a rocket at you, you can Force freeze it, you can Force push it, you can freeze time and pull an enemy to be in front of the bullets or the rockets. Creatures will attack troopers, so sometimes it's smart not to just go in guns blazing and just kill everything that moves. Sometimes it pays off to just sit back and wait, and then maybe they'll kill each other off, and then you can avoid conflict. You can just run past everything. You can slice the limbs off of the droids and the creatures, but you can't for human enemies, which kind of sucks. But the fact that there's so many troopers in this game, if you were cutting the limbs off of every single person, it would just feel like a hack and slash here, and it would probably get an M for mature rating. And then for those bigger enemies like the mini bosses or the boss fights or whatever, some enemies have unblockable attacks and they will show up highlighted as red when they are doing an unblockable ability. So that tells you to get out of the way, dodge them, or just run clean away from the fight, because when they turn red, there's nothing you can do. And then touching on the lightsabers and the customization options and stuff, you can collect different parts throughout the planet. You can upgrade the look of your lightsaber hilt, and you can change the collar of your blade. You can use your lightsaber as a flashlight in dark places to help you when you're exploring like caves or just any dark place. So I think that's pretty cool. There are hidden crates scattered throughout the environment that have different cosmetics for both BD1 and for your character Cal. You can change your outfits and stuff. That way not every single person looks exactly the same when they play this game. Like my character will probably look different than your character. Skill points can also be found in crates, or they can be earned by grinding enemies. From what I've heard people say, it's not that difficult to get skill points. So I would imagine if you just grinded for a little bit, or if you're lacking a couple skill points and you wanted to completely max out your character, you could probably do that with ease. For example, you replenish your health at different meditation points. This is kind of like your little save area. So when you meditate, you regenerate all your health, but at the same time, it replenishes all your enemies. So I would imagine you could probably just go meditate, all the enemies would come back, and you could just kill them again for some more XP. And then from what I've heard, the skill tree, it's not that crazy of a skill tree. Like you have some variations, like you can upgrade all your lightsaber stuff if you want, or you can focus on just your force abilities, or you can have sort of a mixture. But if you wanted to just completely max out everything, I think it is possible, because like I said, people have found that it's not that difficult to get skill points. They may have tweaked it since the game changers and stuff, and like in the press got their hands on the game. It has been like a month since then, so they could have altered the amount of skill points that you get. But from the way that it sounds, it doesn't sound like it's going to be that big of a pain to actually level up your character. And then if that wasn't enough, the icing on the cake is EA came out on Twitter and they said that there is no microtransactions. They're not going to add loot boxes or anything. It's just going to be a straight single player experience. I guess they're not going to have customization options or nothing. It's just going to be straight. You buy the game and that's all you get. Now with the way these publishers work, they could always just lie, I guess. I mean, look at Activision with Call of Duty. They promise no loot boxes or anything, and then they come out later and add them to the game. Or Bethesda promises something, and then a year later they just completely go back on their word. So take that with a grain of salt. I mean, if you want to believe EA and hold them to their word, go for it, but that's just what they said. And then if you pre-order the game, you can get the orange lightsaber color if you like the color orange, and it comes with 2 different hilts and just different customization options for your ship and for BD1 and stuff, like depending on which edition you get, the regular version or the deluxe edition, which that right there kind of contradicts EA. They're like, hey, no microtransactions, we're not going to sell you anything extra, but if you buy the game early and get the deluxe edition, you can get this stuff that's unique to those editions, because you can't earn those in game. Like if you want the orange lightsaber collar, you have to pre-order it. There's no way you can get it afterwards. And then if you are making your final decisions, I recommend if you have Star Wars Battlefront 2, it does pop up in the main menu where you can get a 10% discount. So if you already own Battlefront 2, you might as well get it for cheaper. And then that does stack with EA Access. So that stacked for me. I ended up getting the deluxe edition for like $54 or something close to that. So it is a pretty good deal. You can get more content with the deluxe edition in the pre-order compared to just buying the game regularly for $60. So that is everything that I have found out about Jedi Fallen Order. Hopefully this helps you guys make your decision. I personally am looking forward to this game. I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff to do, and it will definitely keep me busy over the next at least month, hopefully, fingers crossed. I hope this game is something that I can just take my time with, and if I sit down and I play it nonstop for a day, like I'm not going to beat it too quickly. For example, God of War on PlayStation or Spider-Man on PlayStation, I sat down and I grinded those out for hours and I wasn't even close to finishing them. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I will be covering a lot more Fallen Order content here in the near future. And that's going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.
We would be honored if you would join us. You cannot resist